Philippines star Alexandra Eala sends Australian Open crowds into a frenzy. It is rare a player ranked 49th in the world would attract a crowd that virtually brought a Grand Slam tournament to a standstill. But such is the pulling power of Alexandra Eala, Melbourne Park was overcome with a feverish atmosphere on Monday as the rising star from the Philippines played her first-round match at the Australian Open. Eala faced American Alicia Parks on Court 6 in front of a packed crowd, bursting at the seams with her passionate supporter base, which was largely made up of members of Australia's Filipinos community. Hundreds of spectators were turned away by security, while hordes of fans gathered in front of the big screens peppered around Melbourne Park, many proudly waving the Philippines' national flag. Those inside Court 6 were cautioned more than once by chair umpire Yulia Ignachenko about the noise they were making, especially during points. Eala dominated Parks in the opening set but could not maintain the momentum, eventually losing 0-6, 6-3, 6-2. It was so heartwarming, Eala told her post-match media conference. That's one of the things that makes a loss like today a little bit harder, as I know a lot of people were rooting for me. The fact that everyone came out and really squeezed into that cozy court, I really appreciate it. I felt so loved. Even when I was 5-2 down in the third, I still felt the love. So I'm really appreciative and super thankful. Eala's history-making feats. Why is Eala so popular? At just 20, Eala is regarded as a national hero in the Philippines and she enjoys an enormous following on various social media channels. She is the first Filipinos player to crack the top 50 on either the WTA or ATP rankings, reaching her current standing on the eve of the Australian Open. Her rise was aided by her stellar run at last year's Miami Open, when she defeated major winners Iga Swiatek, Madison Keys and Yelena Ostapenko on her way to the semi-finals. A run to the Eastbourne Open final, where she lost to Australia's Maya Joint, also helped her climb the rankings. Later in the season, Eala became the first woman from the Philippines to win a match in the US Open main draw, courtesy of her 3-set defeat of Clara Tauson. A hint about Eala's popularity was given on the weekend, when a mass of fans swarmed upon Melbourne Park's remote Court 22 to catch a glimpse of her practicing ahead of the Australian Open. Eala described the scenes as a bit overwhelming. I'm still young, 20, so I'm learning how to deal with all of this attention, Eala said. But then at the same time, I'm grateful. Despite her loss to Parks, Eala is proud of her showing in Melbourne and hopes she had a positive effect on her legion of fans. I guess this is one of the moments that I can reflect on what this means for Philippines tennis, Eala said. I'm the only Filipina in the draw this year. I'm the only Filipina that's ever been in the draw, I think. So there are positives to take away. The roar that redefined a court, Alexandra Eala's Australian Open frenzy. On a sun-drenched afternoon at Melbourne Park, Alexandra Alex Eala, a 20-year-old from the Philippines, stepped onto Court 6 of the Australian Open. What followed was not just a tennis match, it was a cultural phenomenon, an eruption of pride, energy, and raw emotion that transformed a mid-sized Grand Slam court into a rhythmic celebration of belonging, identity, and hope. It was rare, almost unheard of, for a player outside the top 10 to generate that kind of buzz in the first round of a major. But that's exactly what happened when fans packed Court 6, crowded around big screens, and lined up hours before Eala's first-round match against American Alicia Parks. Hundreds of spectators were turned away by security. Thousands more watched from outside, clutching Philippine flags and wearing shirts in red, blue, yellow, and white. The sight and sound were electric, an atmosphere that brought the Australian Open to a temporary standstill. More than a match, a cultural surge. For Filipinos around the world, Alex Eala's appearance in Melbourne was only half the story. The other half was the sea of supporters who turned a tennis match into something resembling a festival of national pride. Philippine flags billowed like flames around the compact stadium, and chants of, "Let's go, Alex," rose in waves. Every forehand winner was met with cheers. Every rally felt like a collective heartbeat pounding in the Melbourne heat. What makes this support so remarkable isn't just its volume, it's the sheer meaning behind it. A milestone for Philippine tennis. Eala is the first player from the Philippines to reach the women's top 50 in the WTA rankings, a breakthrough that sent shockwaves through a nation where tennis is still emerging as a global sport. A unifying moment for diasporic pride. In Australia, a vibrant Filipino community turned out in force, waving flags and chanting her name as if they were at home. A symbol of aspiration. For young athletes in Southeast Asia, Eala's influence extends beyond the baseline. Her journey signals possibility and potential, breaking molds and inspiring dreams. Inside the frenzy, the crowd that wouldn't be quieted. Court 6 was supposed to be a humble setting for a first-round clash. Instead, it became a cauldron of emotion. The crowd was so enthusiastic and loud that the chair umpire had to warn spectators to quiet down during points. Tennis etiquette traditionally calls for silence during rallies, yet the passion of these fans was palpable. Every point was a reason to exult. Some jaws dropped when chants and cheers persisted even in moments that would have been hushed at most tennis matches. Yet for many in the stands, this was more than a scoreboard. It was a celebration of identity, a moment of shared heritage proudly on display in front of the world. Outside the court, the scene was equally chaotic. Thousands lined up hours early for limited seating. Long queues snaked back toward Rod Laver Arena. Many fans never made it into Court 6 but still crowded the nearby fan zones, not wanting to miss history in the making. The organizers themselves didn't fully anticipate this, and the situation stirred debate. Journalists and fans alike criticized the decision to place such a high-demand player on a mid-sized court, suggesting that a larger stadium might have prevented chaos and frustration. The match unfolds: triumph, struggle, and heartbreak. When the first ball was struck, Alexandra Eala came out with fire. In a breathtaking display of skill and momentum, she blanked Parks in the opening set 6-0, unleashing a barrage of winners that sent the Filipino crowd into delirium. Flags flew, screams erupted, and that first set felt like a declaration. This was her moment. But tennis, and life, rarely follows a straight line. Parks, well known for her athleticism and resilience, adjusted her game, absorbing the early pressure and fighting back. She took the next two sets, 6-3 and 6-2, shifting momentum while Eala struggled to regain her initial spark. Despite the result, the match was far from a disappointment. It was a story of ambition, vibrancy, and heart. Eala's spirited first set and aggressive play drew admiration from fans and commentators alike, showing glimpses of her immense potential. The crowd's energy didn't just symbolize support, it became part of the rhythm of the match itself. Though the final score favored Parks, the narrative of the match was bigger than win or loss. Eala stood at